All right, let's talk about Peter Thiel. You know, he's one of Silicon Valley's most powerful and, let's be honest, most mysterious figures. But here's the thing. To really get what he's all about, you can't just look at the tech. No, you have to dig into these really strange, almost biblical ideas that are driving his entire worldview.
Whoa, okay, so that's a quote from the book of Revelation. Super intense, right? It's ancient, it's apocalyptic, it's the last thing you'd expect to see connected to a tech boardroom. So the big question is, why? Why is this so important for understanding one of the most powerful people in tech today?
Well, it turns out, to understand Thiel's huge, high-stakes project, we actually have to go to Rome. We're talking about these secret, elite lectures on, of all things, the Antichrist. Yeah, all about good, evil, and what he thinks is the end of history.
Okay, so first things first. The key to this whole puzzle, it's not in a server farm, it's not buried in lines of code. Nope, it's in the work of a French philosopher, someone who actually became Thiel's mentor back at Stanford.
And that philosopher's name is René Girard. Now, Girard came up with this really powerful, kind of all-encompassing theory to explain the hidden engine of all human history, which, in his view, is conflict. For Peter Thiel, this wasn't just some academic idea. It became the absolute foundation for his entire life's work.
So what is this theory? It's called mimetic theory. And honestly, the core idea is pretty simple, but it's also really deep. Girard basically says this: you don't really want what you want. Your desires, they aren't actually yours. You copy them from other people. And that simple act of imitation, that's where all our problems start. It's the root of all human conflict.
And he said this plays out in a cycle. It goes like this. First, we copy each other's desires. That leads to step 2, rivalry and conflict, because now we all want the same thing. So what does society do? Step 3, it channels all that conflict onto one single person or group, a scapegoat. And then step 4, sacrificing that scapegoat brings peace, but only for a little while. Girard believed this cycle is the secret engine of human history. And he also argued that Christianity was the first philosophy to really expose this whole system by, for the first time, siding with the victim on the cross.
Okay, so this is where Thiel takes Girard's theory and gives it this wild apocalyptic twist. For Thiel, the real enemy, the Antichrist, if you will, isn't some big, obvious conflict. No, it's a false peace, a stagnant, comfortable world that promises safety, but in reality, it just chokes off all progress and basically freezes history in its tracks. So if you're Peter Thiel and you believe this, how do you fight it? How do you fight this giant force of global stagnation? Well, an idea isn't enough, not even close. You need power. You need a tool. You need a machine.
See, Thiel isn't just some philosopher writing essays, he's a builder. So he didn't just think about these ideas, he built a machine to actually act on them. He built a company specifically to wage this philosophical war.
And that tool, that machine, is Palantir. Just the name itself tells you everything you need to know. It's named after the all-seeing stones in The Lord of the Rings, and that's exactly the promise, the power to see what no one else can see, to find the hidden patterns in all the chaos, and to spot threats before they even emerge.
You know, most tech companies love to talk in these vague, feel-good terms. Not Palantir. Their CEO, Alex Karp, is just shockingly direct about what they do. And this isn't some PR mistake. It's totally intentional. It's part of their core philosophy. They believe it's more honest to just admit the violent reality of state power than to hide behind a bunch of corporate jargon.
So what does this software actually do? Well, think of it like a giant digital sieve. It's designed to sift through this massive storm of data about all of us, intelligence reports, bank transactions, social media, where you go. It takes all of that chaos, and its one job is to find the hidden patterns, to pull out a single, actionable target. It's literally built to find the signal in the noise.
All right, so we've got the philosophy and we've got the tool. But this isn't just about one piece of software. It's much, much bigger. For Thiel, this whole thing is a war against stagnation. It's about restarting history.
You have to understand, for Thiel, progress is basically a religion. And things like stagnation and regulation, that's heresy. He genuinely believes that the Western world has been stuck, both culturally and technologically, since the 1960s. He thinks we're trapped by rules, by being afraid to take risks, and by a kind of fake morality. His entire mission is to get that engine of progress roaring again, and he's willing to do it no matter what it takes.
And Palantir isn't doing this alone, not by a long shot.
You have to see it as the central nervous system, the managing core for this whole new tech-industrial complex. We're talking about massive projects, things like OpenAI's Stargate to create real AGI, or Golden Dome, an orbital missile shield. These are huge, state-sponsored moonshots designed to guarantee American dominance for the next 100 years. And Palantir is right at the center, integrating it all.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting. And honestly, pretty uncomfortable. Because there is a massive contradiction, a paradox, right at the very heart of Thiel's entire project. It's a direct conflict between the philosophy he believes in and the machine he actually built.
Think about it. On one hand, you have the philosophy he learned from Girard, which says that the scapegoat mechanism, unfairly targeting one person to save the group, is this profound foundational evil. But on the other hand, what is the technology he built? Palantir is, without a doubt, the most powerful and efficient scapegoat-finding machine ever created. It's a system designed from the ground up to find and target the outsider, the threat, the anomaly, with terrifying precision.
And you know, it's crazy. People saw this coming. Over 100 years ago, Russian thinkers like Dostoevsky and Solovyev warned about this exact thing. They wrote about a final temptation for humanity, a figure who comes along and offers a perfect, safe, managed world. A world with no risk and no conflict. A world where he gives you everything except your real freedom.
So, let's be clear, this isn't just a story about one guy or one company. Thiel's project, his whole worldview, it forces us to confront a fundamental choice. A choice about the future we must choose for ourselves.
It really comes down to two paths, two possible futures for our technological age. On one side, you have the Grand Inquisitor model. That's a world of total surveillance and control. Technology becomes our warden, saving us from ourselves by putting us in a safe, comfortable cage. The other path is the Mentor model. Here, technology is a tool to unlock human potential, but it comes with the huge risk that the very power we create could overwhelm us.
And that's what it all comes down to, really. The system Thiel is building forces us to ask a really deep question. Can humanity truly be saved by a tool that was designed to condemn? What does salvation even mean when you have all-seeing machines? Is a world that's perfectly safe the same as a world that's free? And is that perfectly managed world really a world we want to live in? That's the question we're left with.